Yeah, hello and welcome to this video, which features round 7 of the Tata Steel tournament. Again, a little bit late, but this weekend was like action-packed for me. Had a blitz tournament on Saturday, a league game on Sunday, and on top of it I was involved in organizing both things, which sometimes is more stressful than the actual games. But everything went fine. It just kept me from doing the video on Saturday. So let's get going. The round 7 was extremely a lively round with many interesting moments. So I have to focus on a couple, and it's difficult to look at absolutely everything. But I want to look at most of the games and some important points, because there was an up and down in those games, and lots of action. Okay, let's get going with Vailly playing white against Luc van Vele. Van Vele having a tough tournament, and he's especially suffering with black. And we have one of his pad openings here, the Najdorf. Yeah, this is a very risky approach by black here. Yeah, he does not develop his pieces quickly, and instead uses plays many queen moves. This here on move 9, already after e6, rook e1, leads to a situation where white is playing with a piece sacrifice here. The bishop on d5 is en prise. Yeah, can black take this piece? In the Sicilian, those piece sacrifices are pretty commonplace, and if he takes it now, after e takes, we see that the e file is opened up, and in most cases this is even a strategic compensation. I mean, oftentimes you don't even need a direct checkmate to prove that this is a position that gives enough play for the piece. Yeah, here after king d8, the situation is not totally clear to me, at least not after a somewhat brief look. Yeah, something like knight e4 could be a good attacking move, but it's not totally conclusive if this is indeed winning or just extremely dangerous. Van Vele decided not to take the piece, but played bishop e7. Yeah, this, however, does not help all that much. After bishop e3, there are discoveries all over the place. Yeah, with the knight, he played queen a5. If he would have taken now, white also has knight f5 available. Yeah, note that this also is a great attack. Something like this, for example. Yeah, knight d5 is possible. Check. Also, the capture comes into consideration. It's extremely dangerous for black. He played queen to a5, after which Vailly decided to sacrifice this piece. And note that he didn't spend much time there. This was probably part of an early analysis or preparation for this game. So he has sacrificed the bishop for 2 pawns. This is a very common scenario in the Najdorf, where oftentimes white can sacrifice a piece and get black into discomfort with the king. In fact, Van Vele's move now, knight c5, played after an extremely long think, probably just loses, and instead he should play king f7, which is, it seems to be playable for black, even though I'm a little bit cautious there with this assessment. It might be that if you give the computer long enough time, it will find something more concrete. It is clear that this position will be dangerous for black in a practical sense, no matter what the objective verdict is. But it's tough to say from a mathematical point of view, let's say, is that great for white or not? Probably knight g5, king back, and then something like f4 is the way to go. It's extremely unpleasant to play for black, but how bad it is, it's tough to say. After knight c5, however, it seems that white's position is winning, and he can probably get a winning position with the capture on g7, but also with the move b4, which is what was played. And Black has to take it. Check. And 95. Note that white avoids the capture. Yeah, this is maybe also good, but the way it was played was very strong actually. 95. Takes. Queen went to a3. Yeah, and now here there are a couple of options for white. Maybe the strongest one is just to continue the attack and don't get any material back. Knight b6 regains some material, but it seems that was played. That's what I'm getting at. But white can also just continue the attack, and this was possible with moves like queen to f3 or also e5. This attack seems to be decisive if you just quote the computer's assessment. I mean, it is absolutely obvious for a human player that the white attack must be extremely strong. But yeah, well, the computer just gives a pretty much straightforward +4, something like that. So it seems that this is an immediately decisive attack. However, it is not all that simple. I mean, Vahi is an excellent attacking player, so if he sees a forced win, he will play it. But it is probably not all that straightforward. It's tough to say actually what black should play now, as white is threatening to take e7 and d6. The engine gives knight e6 as the relatively toughest defense, but yeah, white's attack is very strong. Rook b1 is the engine move, using the last piece that is not yet in play, and threatening all kinds of things, maybe down the b file later. Yeah, it seems to be an extremely strong attack. This was played and had this idea. Yeah, with this knight to get the d6 pawn, but knight d3, the funny defense by Van Vele. Takes.
Check.
Yeah, and now if you do a count, yeah, white has 6 pawns, black has 4 pawns. White has got 2 pawns for the piece, and with rook d6,
check,
now has regained the exchange in a way. So it's, in terms of pieces, it's equal. White is, however, 2 pawns up. His pawn structure here is not that great though. So this actually, yeah, was some progress for black in comparison to having a totally lost position tactically. However, it is still pretty bad. I mean, the 2 pawns are connected on the king side, and black has very little that he can do. In the game, we got to this here, and this ending is winning for white. Note that it is important, if we go ahead a little bit, it is important that white has an h pawn. And he has an h pawn also, which fits well with the bishop. So it is the correct bishop to promote the pawn. This might be a draw if there isn't an h pawn. Yeah, for example, if the black bishop, just imagine, would be here on h7, looking at the f5 square, this position would be a draw without the h pawn. Oftentimes you can draw against the 2 pawns. It is a draw because it's always ready to sacrifice itself here on f5, which is not a draw with h pawns on the board. So even if the bishop would be there, the sacrificial idea wouldn't work because there's still an h pawn that can win for white. In the game, after a couple of moves, when Veli resigned, the pawns just go and promote. There's nothing that black can do. So an opening disaster for the Dutch player. He fought for a long while after he probably missed an early win, but it was just very bad out of the opening. The next game I want to look at is the game, that's the one with the screwed up printout. Wonder if that is actually working. Yeah, Kayakin Aronian. Let's load this one. So that was an Italian game. And yeah, Aronian quickly opened the center with d5, which leads to yeah, tactical complications right away. And in fact, after c3, bishop b6, bishop b3, he played the move f6. And this is pretty amazing, f6. He took a while for this move, and it's really everything else would be too nice. This is a big blunder that should lose the game immediately, but it didn't, because Karjakin didn't play the refutation. If he now would have played c4, he would probably just win the game. The knight is attacked, and yeah, knight b4 is the strongest try, and then c5, and you know, double attack, double attack. So, and this is a check. So after, for example, queen d5 and the trade, white is a piece up for just a pawn. And this is what would have happened. So c4 basically wins a piece and the game. Amazingly, Karjakin did not play that. He played the move d4. That's really weird. It's not very difficult. It's the kind of thing that you would expect such a player to play in a blitz game. It's a counterintuitive move, of course, strategically speaking. From a strategic, optical, whatever, first impression point of view, this move is terrible. Yeah, it weakens lots of squares and makes the bishop look awful, but it's just tactically good. It wins a piece. But sometimes this is a big barrier to cross. If you consider a move that looks terrible in the first place, once you consider it and calculate one or two lines, then you work out that you actually win. And somehow Karjakin didn't spot that. The way it turned out, we had lots of trades, and yeah, the bishops here also got traded. Let's fast forward to that. We got this position, this simplified position where white has the slightly better pawn structure. Note, black has 3 pawn islands, white only has 2. And white also has the e4 outpost for the knight, which looks quite nice. This is not yeah, extremely good for white, but definitely more comfortable for him. And it's easy to play. And the way it turned out, Karjakin was slowly building on his slight advantage, putting more pressure on the pawn on e5. Yeah, note he has tripled now and regroups. Yeah, this is not fun for black. Yeah, he's given up all activity on the f file and now definitely is in trouble. The d6 square now is a new problem. And here it's already very tough to give black some advice. I think this was a very well played game by Karjakin. There was just this one moment he could have won a lot quicker already on move 11, but after that he did a very nice job of slowly pushing Aronian back, having excellent control. It's tough to say, by the way, what exactly Aronian did wrong. Yeah, he's definitely a little bit worse in this kind of position, and then it gets worse quite quickly. Maybe the move c6 ultimately was a problem, giving the knight this additional opportunity. Yeah, I have to see my printout is pretty screwed up. Yeah. Ronan is trying hard, but it's just too bad a position.
Check.
He reached an ending, but an ending where he's 2 pawns down. Yeah, I don't want to look at this all that much. It's not a big technical task for such a strong player as Karjakin is. So a win here for the challenger of the last World Championship match. He missed an early opportunity, but then outplayed Aronian quite convincingly. The next game I want to check is Wesley So against Elyanov. Two of the So is the leader with +3 score, Elyanov on +2, so it's an important game for the standings. They played one of those slow Italian games where nothing much happens. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. So we have a close position from this opening. Wesley So has expanded on the queen side, having a little bit more space there, but Elyanov has the counterplay on the king side here with f5. And I think that white has a little bit too much material on the queen side to be really comfortable. Black here has some chances. h5 was a good move, breaking this pinning situation. Yeah, Elyanov sacrificed a pawn and got a nice active piece placement. Probably So now should return to e2, but he went to h4. And this, it doesn't look like a big problem, but it gives black a fantastic position, in fact, if he now plays correctly. The thing is, this is a position where if you are black, yeah, you pretty much immediately notice that you should have compensation for this pawn. I mean, this is a potential active move. We have rook f8. You have queen to f7, maybe going over, or queen coming here in the right circumstance. So all your pieces are involved in attacking the white king side and the white king, while white has some material that is kind of stuck on the queen side. The problem, however, is to evaluate the differences between all the moves that make a somewhat similar impression. So to work out if rook f8 now is better, or knight g5, or queen f7 is pretty difficult. And Elyanov here played the attractive looking move, knight g5. However, it seems that rook b to f8, yeah, not caring about the b7 pawn, and taking that would be extremely cheeky, but well, yeah, doubling on the f5. This is a lot stronger. If you give the computer enough time, it will show that black's attack is probably so strong that it's difficult to defend, actually. It's not so easy to analyze this situation. What we definitely can say is that white, oops, I'm sorry, should not grab here. After queen to f7, the situation becomes extremely critical for white. There's rook f2 coming. Yeah, again, knight g5 and so on. The biggest issue ever is rook f2, the invasion on the second rank. Yeah, rook takes b7, however, is a bit of an insane move. The best defense, according to the engine, is g4, after which black drops back. And again, queen f7, rook f2, these are the attacking ideas. And it is strong. I mean, this is not difficult to see, but it's difficult to tell the difference between this and the move that was played, which was knight g5. Especially difficult to tell in a real game. If you are afterwards and you have a computer helping you, it's all easy, relatively easy. But in the game, it's difficult to judge between similar looking positions and continuations that sometimes might be just a transposition, a move order thing. But it's a difference what you do first. Here the difference is that white could have played the move e4 as a defense. And it seems that he's okay there. Then the engine gives this as the best continuation, and it evaluates this at the end as equal, as a better defense for white. Wesley So played this move, and again, instead of the move played in the game e4, rook b to f8 seems to be strong. I'm sorry, actually e4 is fine. I'm sorry about that. e4, king g2, and now rook b8 again. Now he played queen f7, but rook b8 again would have been very strong. Looking at this, the main problem is that knight e4 looks like a good defense, but here black has a very strong reply, knight f3. And stuff like queen g4, and now they're seeing the best move for black is very difficult. Yeah, the analysis here gives queen e8 or queen f7. Yeah, potentially allowing something to go in the h file. Well, it doesn't look good for white, but playing this is another matter. Working out the difference between this and this. Here actually white can take, and this is a big difference. Knight e4, queen takes d5, and now rook d4. Knight f3. Yeah, note that after this, white has this defense.
Check.
Because of this trick. Yeah, knight f3 is the better try,
Check.
but now we have a tactical
Check.
sequence which ends in a position that can only be a draw. They actually agreed to draw quickly later. It's just equal here. So there were chances for Elyanov. Difficult though. They're very difficult stuff, especially considering that it was played on a limited time budget, of course. They both were pretty much low on time. We had the game Andreikin Hare Krishna. That wasn't so exciting. The only funny moment, I think, is move 1, because you see Andreikin playing first c3, which you never see on the top level. This has even a name, the Saragossa opening. I have no idea why this is called the Saragossa. In fact, they transposed to a Queen's Gambit declined exchange very quickly. But the game in itself wasn't so exciting, especially if you compare to what happened in the other games. So I don't want to analyze this. We had the game Wojciech Adiban, which was a real roller coaster as well. Adiban goes for e6, b6, the English defense. Yeah, he's really playing very fresh chess in this tournament, going for fighting openings. Yeah, every game, the King's Gambit. This is also pretty aggressive choice. It doesn't look like it, but it is aggressive because it gives white the opportunity to grab a big center, and then black wants to counterattack it. Wojciech played knight c3, which I think was a bit of a surprise to me. Of course, it's not a terrible move, but usually e4 is clearly considered to be the most critical. One reason for this is that white avoids to allow the pin in the first place. So, for example, in a situation like this, if black checks, white has a move like king f1 and does not allow the pin on the knight. This is, for example, a fairly good position for white. Okay, but this was played, and bishop b4.
Check.
So what we got is a Nimzo-Dutch hybrid in a way. The bishop traded for the knight on c3, and black gets f5 in. I think there are a couple of alternatives here, of course, but the white setup here is quite common. Putting it like this with the pawn on f3, the bishop here is blunted, and white tries to long-term exploit his bishop pair. I think this looked fairly normal. I got a close position here. g3 is an interesting move. Yeah, black here has to worry about the knight. Something like queen g5 is possible, and even g4 then is a move. Yeah, note this. Yeah, black avoided that. Went back to e7, g4, knight back. So a completely closed position. 8 pawns for both sides. And yeah, there are ideas, however, to open up the position. Mostly there is b4, c5 for white, and the move c6 for black. And Adiban wastes no time. He plays c6 and attacks the white center. Yeah, white took it. So an interesting situation here. What is black trying to do? Ideally, he would like to establish a piece on d4. A knight would be cool. But in order to get this in action, he needs a knight on e6 and a knight on c6. And that's really difficult to do. Yeah, white wants to put pressure on the d6 pawn, of course. And maybe try some b4, potentially c5, opening up the position for the bishop, so tactically often. And in fact, it got sharp real quickly. b4, taken,
check,
rook a8, bishop b2. Yeah, so how to evaluate this position? Probably equal, roughly equal, but very difficult to play. And after knight f8, queen d2, knight e6, yeah, h5 was played. It's a good move, by the way, by Adiban, attacking the g4 pawn. And white probably does not react, react in the best way. He should probably take on h5. But he played rook d1. And now Adiban plays rook a2. And this is a bit of an annoyance. Yeah, the rook all of a sudden gets this pin going. And white now has to face a difficult decision. And it seems that the next move that he played is not all that great. It looks tempting, but it does not work out all that well. He should probably take on d6, which leads to a couple of captures with simplifications. Rook b2. This as a check.
check,
And then probably bishop d1. It doesn't look super attractive, but it should not be all that bad for white. Probably it's equalish if he continues with best play. In the game, he played this move and c5. That was the idea of b5, this tactical shot. But that is not all that great. It was difficult to see beforehand, though. It's not so great because of Adiban's reply, knight d4, which is pretty strong. He just ignores that the pawn can come to c6, and this is what happened, because he has it quite firmly under control. Yeah, the pawn here is covered, or is taken care of with the bishop, and difficult to give white some good advice in this position. He tried to play g5, but that should give black a big advantage if he reacts correctly. He played knight e8, and it seems that knight h7 was better. The key idea is that white of course has to probably cover it with h4. It looks like the right move. I mean, g6, knight f8 is giving up this pawn. But after h4, black can try this to put pressure on the pawn, or might even try to sacrifice. Check this. This is probably very, very dangerous. Note that white has very little maneuvering opportunities. Pieces are very much tied down by the knight and the rook on the second rank or on the d4 square. That would have been very strong, knight h7, but he went knight e8. And I understand why. I mean, you have this idea here, put pressure on b5 and stop the pawn. But the other continuation was stronger. h4. Knight c7, queen f7 maybe was a bit better, but it's such a complicated position. Bishop b3, and from now on, like here, I think Wojciech plays it very nicely. Check, and now queen b4. That's very nice. The queen is looking at the pawn on d6, and now black only has one move that will keep him equal, and he did not play it. He has to play queen b3 now. That initiates a longish sequence. Queen d6, queen b2, queen d8, and with g6 there's the start of a perpetual. White has a perpetual going on. Like here.
Check.
Again a check. If black goes ahead, this one, he's still going to be checked. Queen b3 was the only move that Adiban now had to play, but he did not. He played bishop b5. And it seems that after bishop b5, white could have gotten a very good position with rook d1, taking on d6 next. It wasn't played, however. I also don't think it's a super intuitive move. The move that Wojciech played also looked perfectly reasonable. Yeah, something like this, queen e7, and then just a slow move with like bishop c3. I mean, white cannot take like this because of rook takes bishop, so he prepares it, and in fact he doesn't have anything great. Something like, I don't know, if you move the rook and white takes. The problem is that with the d6 pawn falling, that those pawns are also very weak, probably impossible to hold. They obviously cannot be covered by the bishop, and the knight is completely ill positioned to help with those pawns. Yeah, this was played, however. Still not a terrible move, but rook d1 was stronger. Yeah, king h7, d5 was probably better. And now Wojciech could take this. Yeah, and I mean, this is a good position for white. Very good position for white. Was able to take this. Queen d6. Queen b4. All looking nice, yeah. So if we do a quick summary, it was a real fighting game, and Adiban probably could have won the game earlier with knight h7. He was in an okay shape after that, but then he stumbled into a really bad position, and now Wojciech has this on the board. Now he's a pawn up, he's got a very good bishop on b2. It looks like a fantastic position. After queen c3, he probably will win this on the long run, queen to c3. But he played rook a1, and that surprisingly gives up his advantage. Adiban now captured and played queen a7. And the point is that he's ready to invade on e3. And this is extremely annoying, as the queen and bishop are both on the f3 pawn. This is correct. And now queen e3. And all of a sudden, black is okay. It's really remarkable. Yeah, he had to take on f3. Everything hung on f3. So it takes. And now note that all of a sudden, black has two passes as well, and he's got potential knight jumps. The white knight is also in some problems. It doesn't have any great squares. It seems that the best play now is for me at least, not extremely intuitive, g6, and then put the knight on g3, on h3, I'm sorry. Just activate it and go from there. Potentially king g3 next and f4, something like that. Just that the knight is more active from h3. It's probably equal then. This is what he played. Yeah, first of all, black cannot take this. I mean, he can, but it's not particularly good. This ending is better for white. Winning, not sure, but it's definitely better for white. This is going to stop the b pawn, and then the 4 against 2 are rolling. So this was played by Adiban, and again he should probably play g6 now, and then knight h3. Wojciech, however, played c7, and now the bishop is stopping the pawn. This might still be a draw objectively, but it's not easy. King e3, g6, king d2. There's a critical moment a bit later.
Check.
White couldn't take here.
Check.
So here.
Check.
A little bit later, f4, b3. b3, bishop c8 probably was better, but okay, king c3, king e8. Yeah, and now that's a bit mysterious now, Wojciech now plays c8 queen, and why not f5? It looked extremely natural. We have the straight, and okay, black has to take on f5. You take here, and this is probably a draw. It's probably a draw. And what the engine gives as well. If this,
check,
and king comes up. The bishop here is currently dominating the knight, and even if the knight gets into it, yeah, white is extremely quick here. I think it's a draw probably. f5, and yeah, if Stockfish gives 0, it's a pretty good indicator.
check,
Also, just by logical means, why would you play
check.
that? It's really a bit mysterious. Why not get rid of more pawns? Yeah, here the bishop is getting active, and the knight can easily be activated. Yeah, in comparison. Yeah, and here Wojciech resigned. The knight will come to, oops, no, to f5, and then h4 this will be falling. So it's an absolute fighting game, ups and downs. Both sides could have won, then yeah, turned it into a lost position. It was a big drama. Okay, so let's see what is still left. Yeah, it's unbelievable how many games were. I think we actually looked at almost everything, besides one game, of course. That is going to be the final one that I check. The Togliatti report was also quite interesting. Report was better, but okay, there are limits to what we can check. The game Carlsen-Giri is the final one that I'm looking at, because I think this has this had implications for the whole tournament in a way. So I don't want to look at everything in detail. The game is extremely long, but a caller opening that was played by Carlsen already in the World Championship match, so not a huge surprise. They got a fairly standard looking position, however. Here the hanging pawn situation with f4. This looks like a position where it should be between equal and slightly better for white, yeah? Like here. And what I'm surprised about a little bit is I am a bit surprised about how Giri plays this now, because he decided to take on f3 and on e2 to trade down into this ending, and this ending here looks unpleasant. I just think it's very unpleasant, and I don't know exactly why that was necessary. I mean, he's of course much stronger than I am, but I wouldn't have liked the idea to play this ending. I mean, okay, and it's against Carlsen. That's not really the greatest opponent to play a worse endgame against. The thing is, white has an easy plan, this a4, a5 plan, and it feels just a little bit of a yeah, joyless task to play this. In the game, Carlsen got some advantage here. He's got the c-pawn passer, and slowly, very slowly as he does it, pressed this position forward. It was a real typical game of the world champion. Yeah, he's got the c-pawn and he's got the better minor piece. The bishop is stronger. Giri defends by trading. This is a good defensive strategy. You want to trade especially pawns. Yeah, white is better. The bishop is a lot stronger, as we can see, and the way it turned out, he could not hold on to his material much longer. White is just too active, and the e-pawn fell a little bit later. First this one. I know you can
Check.
analyze this, but I want to get to the main
Check.
point. Yeah, here white is extremely active. Yeah, this is attacked. The e pawn is under pressure. You can barely move. Yeah, he tried e4, and h5 got taken. e3.
Check.
Okay, so we give a check, and the e pawn is rolling. This is, however, not an issue at all. White has a strong move bishop f3. So what's the point? Yeah, the point is that after queening,
Check.
Carlsen had the check, king f8,
Check.
check, king g8. That was the only move. Yeah, and now, yeah, this is a position that will be nice for the viewers to check, because this is the chance where you can try to find a move that is better than the world champion's move, and it's not something ingenious that you need to find. Yeah, if you check this position in your calculation, what should you look at first? It's checks and captures. In this particular situation, there isn't a great capture available, but you have a couple of checks. A very obvious check is the check on f7. This was played by Carlsen, but you have to look at all of the checks. And there is also this check. And we note that if you check interposes, there's knight d8, which is just throwing a piece away. It doesn't make any sense. There's rook e8, which after
Check.
rook takes, have a look, wins everything. And then there are the king moves. And black has those two king moves. So he will step forward. It doesn't matter where he goes. Again, look at the checks. Rook f7, check.
Check.
King h6. Here we see that it didn't matter where he went. Yeah, this is the same
Check.
kind of situation. King h6, and now rook h8,
Checkmate.
mate. So that is actually mate in 3 moves. Check, check, mate. So the world champion here could have played rook c8 check, rook f7 check, and checkmate.
Checkmate.
The only option for Giri to prevent the mate would have been rook e8, which
Check.
leads to this disaster, yeah, where white is a rook and 2 pawns up. So amazing, really amazing. Rook c8 is the most obvious move, basically, in the position almost. And somehow, with tons of time on the clock, Carlsen didn't play it. I mean, it wouldn't have been unreasonable for Giri to resign here. Absolutely not. I mean, it's after bishop f3, many players would probably resign.
Check.
And
Check.
somehow, Carlsen didn't play that. He played bishop f7. Maybe he thought that that wins as well. It actually does win, but rook c8 was check, check, mate. Yeah? It's that if you can do that, do it. So, Giri played king h8. Check. Check. King f6. And now, Carlsen has 50 minutes on the clock and now has to find the best move. And if he plays the correct move, the position is a total win. But he still does not do it. Yeah, here he played the move
Check.
rook h6 check. Instead, bishop c4 was winning. Yeah, why is that winning? Rook f7 is one of the key ideas, and of course, the knight is hanging with check. So yeah, what's going on? Black does have checks like
Check.
this, but after king h3, it's over. There are no checks available anymore, and black is not escaping him. Something like this
Check.
is pretty strong.
Check.
And the queen gets lost. Yeah, this is
Check.
a comparable situation. It's a win. Instead, he played rook h6 check and king e5. And now things are not clear. All of a sudden, this is attacking the rook. yeah, the best that you can do now is what he did. He played this.
Check.
And went into this ending. Rook and bishop plus 2 pawns against the queen. This is a very unusual material distribution, of course, and you cannot just look it up in a book or so. My take is this probably should end in a draw, but I think one point is here actually that white has got the wrong bishop. That gives black some additional ideas to draw, and we see one of them in the game. We can fast forward a little bit.
Check. Check.
It was a long game.
Check. Check.
We are nearing move 100.
Check. Check. Check.
Dum-de-dum.
Check. 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 Check.
Move 115. And here we see a, a drawing idea. Rook
Check.
f5 wins the queen, but ends in this theoretical draw with the wrong bishop. Yeah, it's no way here to win. Black is going into the corner and makes a draw. In fact, they played it out, and why not? I actually think this is a good idea. Just play it out. It's quickly done.
Stalemate.
And it offers people who don't know this draw the chance to see it played out in a real game. So black cannot win, white cannot win, because black is just sitting in the corner, and you're going to make progress. You have to try with white to advance, and this is the best that you can get, and it's still a stalemate. Yeah, you're always stalemating the black king here, unfortunately. So a big miss by the world champion. Instead of getting to an unbeaten +3 score, joining the lead, he made a draw in this marathon game against Giri, who is still, I think, a very uncomfortable opponent for him. I mean, he has beaten Giri last year convincingly, but it still seems very difficult for him to actually, get the point in. So a really up and down spectacular round. I hope you enjoyed the coverage, and coverage of round 8 is also going to be on shortly. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.